And it is time for our final segment for day 2. And of course, we've got all day tomorrow and the workshop on Monday. So, where do I begin with our next speaker? I'm going to even have to edit what I've already edited because there is so much to say about Zulma Reyo. So, Zulma is an educator, a speaker, and a writer who has developed and taught her own work globally. After studying humanities at Puerto Rico University, completing a BA in Romance Languages and Literature at the New York University, and doing an MA in Education, she started doing psychology and counseling also in San Fernando Valley in California and did a postgraduate study. She then learned about what was then the emerging New Age, and started to develop consciousness, and Zulma's desire to know God has led her to travel the world, so America, Europe, India, South America, eventually coming back to Europe, and with the work that she has pioneered and been creating, and some of you may have already seen the book, and we have a special announcement about that later on as well. She's been doing this for almost 4 decades, and today it's a wonderful opportunity to experience this incredible work in person. So please put your hands together and give her a very warm TCCHE welcome.
Thank you, Marilyn, and thank you, Richard, and the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution that I am very, very close to. I was in the very first conference, and it became like a baby for me. And I'm very pleased to have been invited back and have this opportunity with all of you here. Now, I'm the one who's not the scientist. I don't have any scientific credentials, and yet my entire life has been spent researching. But my way of knowing is not through the mind. And this is what I share with my students today at our school in Mallorca, School of Consciousness. And this is what my book is about. And those of you who have not obtained your copy yet, we will be giving them out as soon as the conference is finished. You can have one. It is our gift of love to you. We felt it is very, very important that people have a technology that is non-technological and yet explains in a very clear way what makes us what we are. And my approach is energetic. It is, this is why yesterday, if you were listening, if you were here for the panel, I said sensitivity is the most important tool that a human being can have. And with that sensibility arises the power of love. And when you love simply because you are love. There's nothing that makes you be this love. It comes from inside, from your state of being. And the moment you are that, service happens, which is the traditional meaning of service is sacro officio, sacred office. The sacred office of being one with everyone and serving and helping everyone. So that's what we're doing here. Thank you for coming. I'd like to begin with a Sufi story that is also very dear to me. I've read it often in my courses. It illustrates very much the situation that we find ourselves in today. So if you'll allow me, I will read. Once upon a time, Khidir, the teacher of Moses, called upon mankind with a warning. At a certain date, he said, all the water in the world which had not been specifically hoarded would disappear, and it would then be renewed with different water which would drive men mad. Only one man listened to the meaning of this advice. He collected water and went to a secure place where he stored it and waited for the water to change its character. On the appointed date, the streams stopped running, the wells went dry, and the man who had listened, seeing this happening, went to his retreat and drank his preserved water. When he saw from his security the waterfalls again beginning to flow, this man descended among the other sons of men and he found that they were thinking and talking in an entirely different way from before. Yet they had no memory of what had happened, nor of having been warned. When he tried to talk to them, he realized that they thought that he was mad, and they showed hostility or compassion, not understanding. At first, he drank none of the new water, but went back to his concealment to draw on his supplies every day. Finally, however, he took the decision to drink the new water because he could not bear the loneliness of living, behaving, and thinking in a different way from everyone else. He drank the new water and became like the rest. Then he forgot all about his own store of special water, and his fellows began to look upon him as a madman who had miraculously been restored to health, to sanity. Now, this is the one person who could have saved the entire village, joined the mass consciousness, the mass crowd, and became like them. So nobody knew of the water. Nobody remembered even having heard that there would be some miraculous water. So this selling out that he did is something that goes very, very deeply. It's something, it's so spontaneous, so automatic with us when we feel alone to, do what everybody else does. And it describes our situation. Why do we sell out? Let's face it, we're unhappy, we're tense, lonely, unfulfilled, and looking for ways to fix this humdrum existence. We focus, however, on the foreground without acknowledging the backdrop, the outer rather than the inner. Everything is postulated outside. It is somebody else's fault or responsibility for our being. It is something that is wrong, and that is why we are feeling in a certain way. It's always the cause of something other than ourselves. So our attention, this is why I say our attention is fixed on the outer rather than on me, on the inner. Throughout the course of this talk, you will hear me saying many times, you are the origin of everything that is happening around you, including your problems, including your prosperity, everything that is beautiful, and everything that is not so beautiful. Now, these are troubled times. This is not something we need to discuss. We briefly spoke about it yesterday. This is post-COVID, or is it post? It's still the mentality of COVID. A lot of us, a lot of people with resentment, other people glad that it's over, others still wearing face masks and still afraid that they're going to catch whatever variant of COVID there is around. But something, a little bug, got into our mind system that is still there. And it's the same bug that came into us during the wars, these past decades. These troubled times, and everything that has happened up till now is all of a sudden acquiring this crescendo to be in a state of agitation that is felt by each one of us. Daily, we're being confronted by unprecedented chaotic situations on a global scale. There are signs of an eroding aggression, gnawing away at the surface of our lives. We see them, but we do not understand what causes them or how to solve them, really, because we haven't been taught to look and think in a different way. We're a victim of the linear mind. We're a victim of words, and we're victims of formulas. But life does not exist in words. It does not exist in formulas. It exists simply because, and there is no reason for it. Life is. We are. This is something I'll be repeating. Extreme situations lead to alternate solutions. Nobody seems to know of the existence of this unpolluted water. And these alternate solutions that we're looking for now, they need to emerge from a completely different space, which is not the space that our rational thinking is taking. But we don't know any other way of knowing. Where is this new human being that needs to think in this new way? Where is this creature? Is it even a possibility that we could become another kind of person, that we could use another kind of intelligence, that we could know in a different way, in a massive way? What is sold today as new is really business as usual. It's just more titles, more names, more formulas, more initials for the ills that assail us, and et cetera, et cetera. So our global vision, which is the next slide, is it? Parting from the inner vision, inner alchemy, which is the method that we've created, parting from the study of our energetic constitution, our minds as an energy phenomena, our emotions as an energy phenomena, our physical body as an energy phenomena. There was a moment where when I was living in India many, many years ago, I spent over a decade in India, I came to the realization that I was really fed up with the system as it was. I was fed up with things being called something. I wanted to do away with titles. I'd studied just about every form of what we call today New Age bioenergy, mental processes, therapies. And I kept saying to myself, there must be another way that we can learn what is really happening, who we are, or rather, what we are, because we're not a who. And this is where I began developing this energetic system, which today I call inner alchemy. And the alchemy is a transmutation, not just transformation, of the being, beginning by the individual human being, but spreading out into everything that is connected with us, everything that is connected to us, that parts from our energy of relationship and coexistence in this world. So we change one thing, ourselves, we change everyone and everything connected to us. They don't always like it, but they will feel the change. So when this change is a positive one, obviously people are going to be lifted around you. So in a nutshell, that's what inner alchemy was, and the alchemy is one that emerges from that state of being inside, which I will touch upon in a few moments. So the inner alchemy vision reveals a reservoir, a little bit like that unpolluted water, of human faculties and abilities which allow for global vision and truly alternate possibilities. Because it doesn't part from the mind. It parts from pure perception, sentient being perception, what the Buddhists called sentient beings, and not rational. Our focus is on growth, building and expanding, not merely surviving. We believe that the kind of equality that upholds sameness is dull and mediocre. So we very much treasure our differences. We deserve more. In our experience, we acknowledge both cause and effect simultaneously, a perception that can only emerge out of a fully sentient intelligence. Now, what is the organ in us that allows us to really think in a sentient way? The heart, right? This is the true seat of intelligence, not the mind, not the head. The head is merely a computer that decodes what we're relating with. My true inner self resides in some chamber which is atemporal, but we locate, like in the deepest recesses of our heart. And it is here, when we connect with that, where intelligence awakens and new possibilities emerge, which are not calculated. They emerge like the eureka, like the aha discovery. So what is this sentient intelligence? For us, this represents an illumined, humane frame of mind that is not afraid of vulnerability. And the secret, the trick here is to be not afraid. How can we be not afraid in the world of today, in the world of cacophony, in the world of brute forces, wars, and everything else which I don't even need to name? How can we not be afraid when we do not feel alone? But I'm anticipating myself. Let me go through my text here. How to bypass fear in today's existence. Living in the present is a truly frightening experience because it spells discontinuity. When I was growing up, I've been around for a long time. People tell me not to say my age, and I will. I'm 79, so I'm getting on. I love that reaction, thank you. But the thing is, I've been around a lot. I've done a lot of research. I've experienced many great teachers and masters and so on and so forth, which have made me the person that I am today. So living in the present is a very frightening experience. And when I was growing up, it was the book by Ram Dass, Be Here Now. It was very famous, and it was the formula we all followed, or tried to follow anyway. Be here now. If you're now in the present moment, nothing else exists except your sensations and your being in this moment. It doesn't hold space for anything else. It's just a direct experience. But living in the present actually is very frightening for most people, if not all, because it means that you can't count with tomorrow being the same as today. You can't count with even your marriage vows. I will be with you forever. I will love you forever, which we know in a sense is correct, and in another sense is a myth, because any relationship is going to have their ups and downs. And you're going to love, and you're going to be very irritated. You're going to sometimes want to kill that person, or not really, but in your mind. And nothing stays the same. So how can we be so attached to the idea of continuity? I watch series, like you all do, on television or movies. And in every series, at one point or another, somebody dies and is buried, and they have the funeral, the whole thing. And then afterwards, the protagonist goes to the tomb and talks to the tomb. In every single series. Now, who and what is in that tomb? Please. The person is in your heart. The connection you had is always there. There is no tomb, but it's symbolic for a continuity. It's there where we place the body. It is there where I need to go. It is there where I need to go to reconnect with my mother or my father or my spouse, whoever passed on. So, living in the present is a frightening experience because it spells discontinuity, and we're wholly unprepared for this. Our training, our teaching, society has not taught us how to live really in the present moment, because it hasn't taught us how to live without the linear mind, without thinking becoming such a major event in everything that you do. And it is. Everything that we do is preceded, is accompanied by thinking, calculation. There's another way of knowing. There's another way of living. And this is what we teach at the School of Consciousness. We're habitually living from the past or from the projected future. Aloneness, which should be a state of fullness, instead of being fullness, translates into loneliness. We are not all one, which is what the word aloneness really means. We don't even know what being one is. There's none of us inside. And what is inside is psychological. It's an effect of the relationships that I have. It's my feelings about something, which reverberate in my viscera, reverberate inside in my emotional body. So that's what I call subjective. And that's what I think is inside of me. So we never get past this. And yet all of this psychology, all of this that has been imprinted in me as a series of events that have brought me through my life to the present moment, has become my burden. My backpack. I call it a backpack of stones. Everybody carries a backpack, huge backpack with boulders. And we don't even know that we're carrying them. And these are beliefs. And these are these images, these memories, all of them around the experience of formulated into words and meaning, which really have no meaning and no place in our lives once we learn to live in a different way. So aloneness instead of fullness translates into loneliness, death, destruction, destitution, impotence for the average person. To be here now without the promise of tomorrow is devastating. It makes us feel powerless. And power is the key to dignity and self-worth, being powerful. We need to feel powerful. We may be afraid of using the word, I am powerful, and saying it, but we need it. Everybody needs to feel owner of something, to feel that they have themselves something, that they have the power to occupy a space, to determine a certain route of action. What is power? What is it really? Where is it found? And don't just consider what power does. Normally when we think of power, we project it outside onto symbolic sources. And it's generated physically. We are ignorant of the power that we hold inside of ourselves, and that's the true power. The power of mind, the power of feeling, ultimately, englobing all of that, the power of consciousness. What is that? What is consciousness? I'll come back to that in a minute. Instead of bestowing personal meaning and power, we bestow personal meaning and power to things, conditions, and others. So the other will have the power to make me happy or unhappy. My position and the work that I do will give me the power to have more money, to do what I think I want to do. I'm saying I think I want to do, and et cetera, et cetera. In inner alchemy, we become aware of the magnitude of power of consciousness. There goes that little word again, big word. We learn to use it in ourselves and in our world. Alongside the greatest creations, we become aware, the student of inner alchemy, of the disharmony, the discord, and the chaos that we are capable of generating. We've got to look at these things. We learn to live in the present moment fully, consciously, joyfully, without the pretense of continuity. But this can't happen overnight. It happens and it accompanies the development of sensitivity in our body, following what Greg was saying, where God resides, where the godliness, where divinity exists in all eternity. That's where the power lies. We acknowledge our insignificance. So instead of trying to be powerful and important, we recognize that we're nothing. We're actually nothing. But that nothingness in no thing is all one. I'll come back to that. This leads to a natural neutrality, which spells humility, and leads inevitably to what I was talking about before, that state of love which leads to service, sacred office, sacro officio. So instead of meanings, In inner alchemy, life is viewed in terms of frequencies, rhythms, and dynamics which we handle. Now, power is neutral. But in the minds of the ordinary person, it is a most fascinating, think about it, intoxicating and seductive temptation. We may not want a certain kind of power, but we want another kind of power. And if we look and see where our intentions take us, it is usually to be right, and that is the power that we hold on to. It translates into personal power and control over others and circumstances. To be powerful connotes being important, being someone. Again, this concept of continuity, being something, someone. I've got to be something. Obeyed, respected, surrounded by people and things. Now, the most obvious form of power is money. Money spells survival, identity, success, or failure, and the illusion that everything can be bought or done. If we have it, we flaunt it. If we don't have it, we dream of having it so that we can have all that we think will make us happy. But it's power. The power that we hold is inside. It has nothing to do with money. It's much greater than money once you begin to experience it. Global discussions, they keep going right now, but they dwell on the idea that money is a solution for the current evils, and that if we stabilize the economy, everything is going to be fine. Now, is it really? Business as usual. Now, this next slide is about the two laws that we understand and teach in our school. And when I say teach, I don't mean theoretical, I mean experientially. We learn something, we explain what that is about, and then we proceed to immersing ourselves into the experience of that. Now, there's two laws that rule the human being, and these are the two poles for alchemy to occur. One is the law of matter, which we all know. It's the law of opposites, it's friction, and the other is the law of consciousness. And this is the one that we don't know enough about, because consciousness does not work through polarity. Consciousness is. It's like the light. It is. The human being is invested with and responds to these two laws. We are spirit consciousness within a physical body. At least this is the vision that we hold and that we use as a premise for our teaching in inner alchemy. Our society, however, continues to build upon the law of matter and considers even the mind to reside in the brain. The brain without consciousness is nothing. The brain without that spark in you, which is truly the human being, is what you are, not who, then becomes your computer. If the computer is damaged in any part, then it may not function. That doesn't mean it is not aware or cognizant of what is happening around it. Many children that are supposedly non-responsive, and people who have been non-responsive physically are aware of things that are happening around them. Now, spirituality may be talked about a lot, actually, especially today, but very few people really understand what spirituality is. It has nothing to do with what you do. It has nothing to do with what technique you use, what method you use to take you to silence. The silence between words, the silence of the present moment, the silence in your body, the silence that is so loud that it becomes light, like white noise, like white light. Then that is meditation. But everything else is not meditation. It's what you do to get there. As a matter of fact, you don't need to do anything. If you're poised and you're attentive to those moments of in-between. You know, they say sometimes that when there's a silence in a gathering, that an angel has come past. I don't know if that is said in English, we say it in Spanish. It is those moments when everybody is quiet that a true meeting of souls can happen, or is happening. I'm saying can simply because we're not aware of it, but it is happening. Now, there is no one single definition of consciousness that holds in this practical materialistic framework, because consciousness is immaterial. And consciousness is not, in my definition, not only the field. Consciousness is. I am consciousness. But to understand it, we need to step out of the mind and feel that reverberation, which we will do in a few moments. To see consciousness, to work with it, you need to sidestep your vested interests. And this is why it's so difficult to understand true silence, consciousness, and to find these alternate solutions to the way our world is working today. You must enter into a world of coincidence and cohesion. And that world is behind the apparent world. But it is up to us to sidestep our vested interests so that we can perceive it, so that we can reverberate, we can vibe with it. And that is indescribable and wordless. The law of consciousness is a law of love. And it works by similarity, by fusion, by reciprocity, collaboration with all of life, not just human beings. Remember I said that love is a state of being? It is what you are when you are in that state of resonance with silence. You are love and you attract. You emit light and you attract like light. Okay, fusion, reciprocity, collaboration, that's love. It includes everything. But when we're so busy setting goals and defining preferences and possessions, we miss the forest for the trees. We miss the love, and we transfer love into a cause and effect situation, into a law of matter, and it has nothing to do with materialism. It has nothing to do with matter. Love is the soul of consciousness. A human being is not a material thing. The mind is not a machine, and I'm just talking from the perspective of inner alchemy. We're not a machine that we can be programmed, and yet we are programmed. It responds ultimately, the human being, to higher laws that create, run, and sustain our world in ways that we do not yet understand. Now, I may be saying a little bit too much, and it may sound complicated to you, but it's all included in the book that we are gifting you. You can decode parts of it in there in your leisure time, and little by little. It's not a book that you read from cover to cover. A book that can accompany you wherever and however long you want it to be there for you. And it will teach you. Now, the human being is a creator. And our real, ultimate, and supreme power derives from the consciousness or power of unity. Only that which parts from the principle of oneness can resonate with the physical power source that makes a difference. Let me repeat that. Only that which parts from the principle of oneness, totality, can resonate with the physical power source that makes a difference. Only that consciousness, that state that we are in when we are love, can change our world. Only from that perspective can we gain true insight into something totally different if we're open for that possibility. Our source of power resides in the I. What happens when you think I? I don't mean physical I. I mean I as subject. Think I, and look and feel at your body energy. What happens to you when you think I? All the energy goes inside, into a focus, right? Now when you repeat that, and you add am, I am. Repeat that to yourself. I am. What does this amness produce in you? A vibration. Power. I am. And this is another of the sacred names. For us, it is the sacred name of divinity, of the eternal, of infinity. The I am. And each time each of us uses I am, we're empowering whatever follows the am. Instead of remaining in the I am, simply am. Hello? Yeah. You feel whole. A wholeness that nobody and nothing outside of you can provide for you. You are full. It is an invitation to your soul to join with you, your spirit self to become present in your body and in your psychology. I am. And it's in Bible. I forgot to get the actual saying and put it on screen for you, but it's the old of times is sent an emissary, and I think it was Moses or somebody said, I may be distorting it, asked, well, who should I say sent you? And they said, tell them it's the I am. And this is where the I am that I am comes from. The power source of amness is the power of God or divinity in you. And it is there. Everything that we say, I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am happy, I am sad, I am wealthy, I am poor. And we're empowering all of that comes after it. So I suggest that you try the I and the am at home in your own privacy and feel that reverberation of power inside of you. Nonetheless, there will be a meditation in a few moments that you can also practice. The I am is a power vested in daily attitudes and emotions. We create and energize whatever we think, say, or believe. Unfortunately, most of our creations are, if not illusory, certainly unworthy of ourselves. What we're empowering most of the time is our fears, our negative memories, the possibilities of them repeating or something happening or losing something, as we will see in a few moments. Now, everything is energy. And energy is directed by something, someone, and determined by the quality of the subject. And that is the key. The level of inner quality of the human being. So when I am directing energy, the energy that I direct will acquire the quality of me, of my amness in this incarnation. So it will respond and take on the coloring of the subject. So you can imagine how many people are using power in the wrong way, and why we have the world we have today is no wonder. People are not aware of themselves, and they're not aware of the ethics and the nobility, the beauty the vulnerability, the majesty of the I, of each I inside each of us, which is the majesty of God, of godliness, of divinity. A better world is structured by the quality of its members. And if we want a better world, we need to start divesting ourselves of self-interest and self-importance, so that our creations serve to construct a better world. Am I asking the impossible? Probably. But we can begin to work for it. To divest ourselves of everything that I have fought for all my life, my interests, my importance, my place in the world, to be a nothing, to be a nobody. No, thank you, not today. And yet, that's exactly what we need to do. And in divesting ourselves of all of this, we touch upon the real power of the I am. In other words, we have more than we have before we thought we lost what we thought we lost. Money controls our world simply because we empower it. But there are other ways in which we could use our power, and that's what this talk is about. We need a break. The world needs rest from unreality and strife, from reaching for illusory goals and attaining superficial satisfactions, from untruth and falsity, from inauthenticity and impotence, from ourselves as we think we are, and from a world we are constantly and helplessly reconstructing. Again and again, the business as usual. We find different words, different approaches. We get all excited about this, we get all excited about that angle, and they're all perspectives of the same plane, the three-dimensional plane of materialism, of 1 + 1 = 2. When there's a world where one is everything, it's the multiple and the one. The world goes on, oblivious to the condition of the individual devoid of itself. Now, there's a reason I'm going in this direction here. As I said yesterday, COVID was what inspired this talk today, Inner Alchemy for Troubled Times. Everything that happened during COVID. Global discussions such as the Great Reset, which was hosted by the World Economic Forum, do not consider the essential emptiness experienced daily by people. They still think that if you solve the economy, this emptiness will not be there, or that the emptiness has something to do with it. It doesn't. It's happened before in recent history. Hiroshima, the Holocaust, where these massive experiences of disaster. The best example that we have today is, of course, COVID. It's another Holocaust. It's another Hiroshima, in a different scale, in a more subtle scale, but just as intense. Taking as many lives, perhaps even more, because there are many more people out there who are feeling still today the repercussions, the loss of people, of loved ones, the repercussions in their health, the sensibility that arose from, for some people, from the vaccine, etc., not to say the habits we created. COVID was, as I said yesterday, which has been for me, a phoenix experience. Human beings were forced to physically and emotionally go deep inside of themselves without having anything inside to go to. What were they going? What have we been taught? What is inside? Everything is relationships. Everything is the other. Everything is what I have. I'm not used to being by myself. I'm not used to being with myself. No wonder so many people fell into depression or went crazy in one way or another, or called for death, or called for the COVID virus to come to them, which is a way of attracting. They found emptiness and meaninglessness instead, and a few emerged from the ashes, but many did not. Many still have not. Deaths, depressions, suicides, all these are legacies of those who couldn't cope with a physical privation because they had nothing inside. Nothingness, the nothingness to do, the nothingness to be. This continues subtly every day. This is what happened to the person who went and drank the polluted water because he couldn't live with himself alone. There was nothing to live for if it wasn't for the others and as the others. We've ignored the inner stirrings of truth as uncomfortable for too long. One of the first things that I have to deal with, and I prepare my students for, is this uncomfortableness. We're not here to be comfortable. We're not here to sleep. And most people sleep their entire lives. We need to wake up, and we need things that will shake us. And reality shakes us alive. If we are very comfortable, something will come along to take us out of our comfort zone. What is this something? For us, it is your own soul. Your own spirit soul calling to you, saying, hey, that was not the way. This is the way. Go inside. We've depended on external stimulation and routine for far too long. Like spoiled children, we demand payback from life instead of paying homage and feeling gratitude for the fullness of life within and beyond those little vested interests. This is what we do. Now bear with me. To be happy, and this is horrible, this was not pleasant at all, a list for me to make, but we need to look at these things. To be happy, we impose conditions on life and others. We impose guarantees. We want guarantees that assure security, continuity, and stability. We insist on them. We demand free time and less work as payback for fulfilling duties and obligations. So we may be dutiful, we may fulfill our obligations, but inside we're resentful, and we're not even aware of being resentful. So therefore we want more free time, we want more pay, as if these could be compensations for the emptiness we feel, the emptiness we are. We demand comfort, shelter, privacy, borders that ensure separation, that breeds greater and greater self-importance and specialness. We demand financial rewards that make up for a lack of self-worth. So if I make so much money, I'm really worth something. Because inside, I don't even know who I am. I'm a nothing, I'm a nobody, but I'm not telling anyone that. And I'm especially not finding out myself. So we keep things from ourselves. The best way of lying is to lie to yourself first. Then you can believe anything that you say. We look for symbolic substitutes for affection and nurturance, and we hardly consider what that happiness might stem from within, simply being happy for no reason at all. And that only we are responsible for this. We don't consider that happiness, like joy, is a state of being totally free. Viewed from the materialistic perspective, these impositions on life, as well as those awful things that happen to so many people in the light of COVID, are real. And yet, from the perspective of consciousness, other things happened. Not enough is being said about the positive effects of more than 2 years of social restrictions, or about the silent and yet strong complicity of the few that is arising. Under the surface, here's what happened during the pandemic, or my perspective of it. What went wrong after COVID was not caused by imposed confinement, nor the privation of human contact. It was the natural effect of the inability to be alone and whole without an inner anchor or sense of self, without the ability to experience the peace and joy that emerges from life itself for no reason at all. What went wrong after COVID? How can we begin to set our priorities straight and value the present moment over the seductive, involving trivia of materialistic daily life and physical satisfactions? Here's a list of some of the reigning principles. Beliefs. Beliefs determine satisfactions, and these are beliefs that underlie our world that we have created and nourished up to now. And please bear this in mind. This is the cause of everything that we are experiencing today. These beliefs, they're like set in stone, and they're not. We believe that reality is physical. Puntos, I would say in Spanish, period. That the existence of God, where there is one, is as remote and external as everything else in the material world, reached through intermediaries as fallible as ourselves. God needs to be reached. I am not good enough to even consider that God resides in me. This may not apply to this group of people, but generally speaking, the world out there, it does. We need proofs that there is something that exists out there, that God loves us, that something loves us. And so these beliefs keep accruing more and more beliefs, and layer upon layer of things that separate you from your spirit, soul, self. We believe that the value of a human being is reflected through appearance and behavior, and importance is placed on performance, status, and achievement. The human being is held to be a social creature of habits, urges, instincts, and reflexes that define supposedly essential needs for stimulation. Now, this is what kept being said again and again and again and again throughout all of COVID. That people were suffering because they were deprived of their relationships. Relationships are held to provide these needs, to satisfy your habits, your urges, your instincts, and to determine fulfillment. It's not that way at all. Focus is placed on uniformity and obedience rather than on individuality and authenticity, rhythm and inner voice, contact with that inner voice. To belong is of utmost importance. I need to belong to a group, to a family, to a country, to something. Cannot be alone, again. Here are some concepts that we could redefine. Depression. Now, depression occurs in the absence of a deep connection with your own true voice of consciousness. This state of mind sets in when we are unable to acknowledge ourselves as whole. Mostly it's boredom. Grief. This is a stage of total absorption in the idea of cessation, discontinuity, and privation. It occupies a disproportionate amount of time and provides emotional distraction that could be otherwise engaged. A person in grief goes over and 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 over again the same situation, as if the pain were going to be meaningful to them. And many psychologists, grief counselors, allow the person to continue. They're doing their grief. They need time to keep dwelling again and again and again and again. Why? Because we don't have contact with that inner self. We don't know what it is to feel whole. We don't understand the nature of life. What happens in death? I have a book coming out next year about that. It's not a cessation of life. It is a continuity at a higher level, at a different level, at a soul, spirit level. But if we know nothing about soul and spirit here, how are we not going to fear death? How are we not going to feel grief when we lose we think we lose a loved one. Loss. A materialistic miasma. What would lead a human being who knows itself one with the rest of creation to demand control, possession, and permanence from nature? What can truly be lost? And who are we to think we own anything? Worry. Worry is usually about loss associated with identity, and it belies the conviction that the senses are the only reality, that physical reality is the only reality there is. Forgiveness. I think I need to go a little faster. Unforgiveness might be seen as when we refuse to forgive somebody, it may be seen as a sort of revenge, a self-righteous tantrum performed in ignorance. A self-realized individual cannot be wronged and has nothing to forgive. Fear. Fear often shows deep insecurity that comes up when control is lost, or when in ignorance of one's true nature and direct connection with Source. Predictability, based on imposed continuity and stability, and so on and so forth. One must work hard to earn merit. These are things that we believe in and we think are going to make our world a richer place, a safer, more secure, more predictable, and therefore a happier world according to the definition of the mass of society. We need to control people and conditions, and if we do not, we live in fear. So this is what we need to break from. Let's pause here for a few moments, and this is when I would like to give you a bit of a practice that we use in our school. Now here you have an image of what I call the alchemical alignment. We position ourselves standing between the heavens and the earth and use the force that comes from the earth itself, coming up through the body, and from the heavens coming up, we could call it chakra, through the crown chakra. And they both meet and constantly flow through us, constantly. We do many physical exercises to develop this and to prove the flow of energy that flows through us. Now, for the purposes of our practice here and in our school, I posit a figure of light, as if you were standing on a mirrored surface, and underneath you, you have your reflection. This is what the second figure is about. These are your roots in life, rather than sending out a tail or whatever other device other schools. Hello? Yeah, there I am again. We visualize a figure of light. Above, directly above, we visualize and evoke by a sense of visualization like a solar presence. And that has you could say it's like 3 meters, or I don't know how many yards that would be, whatever, above. And somewhere where you would intuit it. And to feel this, you would need to go inside yourself and imagine rising, or taking your energy up, 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 and imagining going into infinite space, and there kind of touching upon something, as if you were touching upon a spaceship, and underneath feeling the earth at the same time. So I'm going to do this one after another, and that's what the alchemical alignment will be. This, again, is a means. This is not the meditation. This is a means to take you into a state of meditation. The next slide. Here I told you I wasn't a scientist, but I found this very first image of an atom, and I loved it. I said, wow, this is exactly what I've been seeing, because I don't know if I told you, but everything that I do has come as an experience from inside of me. I have seen it, I have experienced it. I've been clairvoyant all my life, including childhood. So I've got the gift of being able to see things which I can then teach others to see as well. And see in the sense of understanding as well. See in the sense of knowing and feeling through whatever dominant sense you might have. So I loved this image of this of this atom, because it illustrated the proportion of light in matter. Now, the ordinary human being, our bodies, in our school, inner alchemy school, our cells are composed of matter and also consciousness, those two laws that I pointed out to you before. Now, the law of consciousness is light, and the law of matter is density. That works under friction, it works by polarity, and the law of light does not. So light and matter are constantly interacting in every one of our cells, and we see this as points of light. When we begin to meditate, as we will very briefly in a few moments, on these points of light, we make them larger. They respond to us. They're like waiting for us to call on them. The heart responds to them, us being the heart, and we'll illumine them further and further. The more a person meditates, whether it is the alchemical alignment that we use in my school, or whether it is your own way of meditating, whatever your form of meditating is, will intensify the proportion of light in your cells. This is where the figures of the saints in the Middle Ages and even before that, as seen with aureolas around them. You see people who are very pure and beautiful teachers, masters, who emit light around them. It is this light of consciousness that is in their cells. So the second image is a person who has meditated, possibly you, and has increased the proportion of light in your physical body. Now, perhaps what is missing for you is the acknowledgement that it is in your physical body and that you can affect the nature of the cell. And we call this in our school cellular recalibration, and that's in my next book. Cellular recalibration from meditation, but you need to be aware of it. If you're not aware of it, it has no sense. It exists by itself, but disconnected from your basic consciousness or awareness. The third one would be a person who meditates even more. It would be maybe a teacher, an enlightened one. And of course, the very last one would probably not have much hold, would not be able to exist on this physical plane. And we have records of this in the East. Mir Baba, who lived in a cell for I don't know how many years. He would not leave that cell. And I had the good fortune of being there, going to that room and feeling what he left behind. And it's like you go in there and all the light of consciousness. And it was his light that he impregnated into that room. But he couldn't exist like an ordinary human being. There was not much matter or density holding him in place to be doing the normal things. And this is, of course, not our aim in the School of Inner Alchemy. We want to familiarize you with this proportion of light and matter so that you can lead a healthy, happy, normal life with awareness. Okay? So this is basically what happens to the body through meditation, and especially through our own, and what I refer to as the points of light when I am going to be leading you now. So if you feel like closing your eyes, I would appreciate it. There's nothing to see outside. However, I do have one condition. When you close your eyes, imagine that you're pulling inside. Okay. In your ordinary awake state. Okay. I am here, and my eyes and my body is fully present in this room. I am occupying this entire room, even though my physical. When I close my eyes in meditation, I pull all of those energies like little feelers. They are like feelers, like octopuses. Pull them inside yourself and bring your entire energy and awareness to the weight and density of your body, so that only your body exists. So divorce yourself from everything around you, from even being in this room. Follow my voice and be inside your body, which is your temple. Focus on the transference that occurs from your mind, your mental awareness, to the physical sensation. Your body is composed of billions and billions of particles of life units. Atoms made of combined light and matter that seem to have a life of their own. It is up to you, the I am in you, to inhabit, enhance, and master your body energies. What you do with your energy, what it gives you, is your responsibility. Again, now breathe. This time, visualize that you're breathing from the earth. Deliberately spread light, breathing in light from the earth, from the figure of light, as oxygen. Now, breathing is very, very important in meditation. And deeper that you breathe, the more oxygen you take. And oxygen translates as light in your bloodstream. And this is what works on your point of light. And this is transmutation or cellular recalibration. Now consciously breathe into your body and pull up that energy from that figure of light that you have visualized below you, just the way you're sitting now. And feel, sense that you're drawing that in through the soles of your feet all the way up to the top of your head. Sense an upsurge of vital energy from the center of the earth. Imagine it, feel it, attract it. Inhale it and become aware of the circulation created now with the figure of light. You breathe out and you breathe in through the figure of light. You breathe out and again you draw more in through the figure of light through the soles of the feet. And as you breathe out, you cast away all tension, thoughts, worries, and emotions. They drop right into the figure of light that seems to absorb them. Breathe in from the figure of light, light, into your body. Pull down and release on the out-breath onto the figure of light any worry, any discomfort, any emotion or thought that you might be having. And drop it on the out-breath. Again, breathe in from the earth, embracing the billions of light particles that bubble up from the earth through the figure of light. And this is an excellent moment for you to take note of what's happening inside your body. As you're breathing and pulling that energy of light up through the soles of the feet, coming through your body, take note if there's any empty, cold, tense places in your body. It's a moment where your own attention, your awareness, and this light can heal them. As you may redistribute the energies simply by feeling, seeing, sensing, breathing. Pulling the energy up, up, up through the genital area, the diaphragm, the chest. All areas in your body are sacred. And as you're illumining and clearing and cleansing, you come all the way up to the top of your head, and you become aware that there's a contact way above there, which is what we're going to call the electronic solar presence. Feel it, sense it, and imagine and see it showering very, very fine light as blessings over you. These are energies of pure light and color. that spill over you like fine mist. They slide into the crown through the current of life and spill down to the center of your spinal column like liquid light. Imagine, feel it. Feel the weight of liquid light coursing right through the center of your spinal column, bathing the entire passage. First, it filters into the brain and colors it with luminosity, and everything else follows suit. The texture and the color and the descending flow from above is like liquid pearl, covering each vertebra. It has a certain weight and rhythm to it. Follow its course as it covers each of your vertebra in liquid pearl. Your body is a living vehicle that connects earth and heavens, linking all dimensions of being. Breathe up from the earth, that white, transparent, crystalline light, and from the heavens absorb this pearly liquid light that contains all the colors of the rainbow. So now you're feeling the flow from both directions, inducing it through a sense of inner movement as you breathe in from the figure of light, that transparent crystalline light, and take it all the way up, clearing your body, illumining points of light within, and at the same time you are breathing in from the heavens in the opposite direction this pearly light that filters down the spinal column, very gently covering each vertebra in pearly liquid light. Light upon light. Breathe out your worries, your ills, your problems, and know that it will be transmuted, because that is the nature of light, and that is your nature. The light that is given to you, that flows through you, merely through your acceptance. Light is consciousness, intelligence at the highest level. Now at this point, your points of light inside every atom of your body vibrate their intensity, and the energies of the heavens bear down on you. Rising up below and through you are the energies of the earth, and your body is now completely white. Feel it. Take a few moments to accept it. Transparent, radiant, brilliant, white. Breathing up, light. Breathing down, light. Light upon light. Your body very still, glowing in the richness of your own being, connected to the earth and to the heavens. You are truly a concentric center of force. Your extended sensibility is like antennae, and they reach out in all directions, and you can perceive everything around you. Look, feel, see where you are in this inner space between the heavens and the earth. Now I'd like you to imagine yourself being in this inner space, being like a soap bubble made of transparent, pearly texture, with all the colors of the rainbows and very pale hues, and float, can float now and you can feel the whole planet. Imagine this planet Earth. Put aside your critical mind and allow your heart to see and feel and sense now. Now, as this is happening in our simultaneous world reality, a very beautiful, pale, rose-colored light is being emitted from your heart. Feel it, see it, accept it. Put aside your mind, suspend your disbelief. It issues subtle petals of translucent pink at the edges, all around your heart. Everything is transparent, but incredibly intense. And feel how the borders of this pink light, those petals, continue to overflow with light and keep blooming. Sense the emotion of this flowering within you, bringing a deep, profound, serene joy as your heart continues to expand. Allow this expansion to fuel your own desiring heart. And here's where we all join together. This is what brought us to work such as this. This is what has brought us to this conference. Our desiring heart for a better world. You may perceive in that vision that you hold inside now, like a soap bubble, looking at the planet Earth, you may perceive some dark pockets on the map of the Earth. And these are places where there's conflict. At these times of wars, prejudice, slavery of children, women, men, you perceive these gray or brown dark spots in areas where there is struggle, aggression. They manifest in one way or another. Now hold the frequency of your knowing heart steady and allow your inner senses to sustain your basic intention and the feeling of that pink flowering as it bursts from your heart to embrace everything around you. Trust your intention. Trust your I am and its tremendous power. Trust your heart and allow the light to do its work through you. And this brings up a kind of sweet sadness. It elicits a state of caring, which we call compassion. We care about humanity. We can never care enough. And through this caring, in this state, we emit the substance of love. Because energy is a substance and opens to all possibilities. Continue extending your consciousness to embrace the atmosphere of the earth beyond those darkened spots. Perceive the colorings of the oceans and the lakes, the infinite varieties of green on the mountains and the vegetation of this beautiful planet. Awaken your sensibility, raising the frequencies of suffering and strife through your own self. Embrace within your own self the discomfort that people cause one another, the tremendous unhappiness of so many. Embrace it within your loving heart. Bring them into you where you now are. Perceive a united world, one humanity, one earth. Your caring here heals ignorance with the power of very human love, the power of understanding that arises from a place beyond the mind. It is the essence of love. It is the essence of nature herself. Take hold of this frequency. Identify it so you may work on it on your own. Remember it. It's the capacity we have to love and heal, to teach and raise one another, to live in peace. Put the little personal self aside for a moment and be the spirit, soul, self, which I am. The I am in you. And at this point, simultaneously, your heart is an overflowing river of pink light that inundates our planet. Imagine now billions of people receiving this pink balm. Imagine old men, women, and children, everyone laying down their arms and embracing one another. See it, believe it, hold that image. We are constructing a new world right now, beginning with ourselves. Hold the feeling long enough for it to imprint itself on your memory, so you may reproduce it, so that you may manifest beauty, peace, and love in your world. Feel it, believe it, know it emotionally, believe it mentally. A place where there are no borders. We create this together on the subtle, energetic plane of possibility. See people feeding one another, giving one another clothing, shelter, work, where everyone is collaborating in one way or another, covering all needs under the mantle of understanding, because you are me and I am you. Through the reconnection with Spirit Self, and desire it fervently. Peace, harmony, brotherhood. The heart is where everything comes together, where all the forces meet to emit that binding force of love. The cohesion is what brings people and things together. Now you use it consciously. Just a few seconds ago, you were upon this planet, emitting your love frequency, your light to the planet. And now, I want you to imagine and feel the planet is within you. You are the planet. Sustain this feeling and feed it, just like the earth feeds us. Nourish it, just like a mother its child. Like a father is protective, containing embrace. Together, with self-awareness, in light, we create peace. Together, we construct a very possible world. Believe it, feel it, see it. Imprint it in your memory so you may reproduce it. Now very gently, we will decelerate the vibratory rhythm of our energies, sustaining everything that we have constructed. And you're going to do this through the breath, bringing your focus of consciousness now back into your belly, into your body, and into the weight and density. We're going to use the law of matter to our favor as we return to this body fully. You're inverting the proportion of light in matter, gaining greater weight and density. and returning comfortably to the full sensation of your body. Bringing the desire that you emitted to the here and now as a possibility. Sustain the fervent wish that there be peace and harmony upon this world, beginning with your own, so that we may serve, spreading the texture of this desire everywhere we go, to everything we see and touch and feel. As above, so below. Returning very, very gently. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes and return to the place that you never left. I think my time limit is up. I have about 5 more minutes. Do I? Yes, thank you. A human being holds the unique potential. What I have just done isn't just fanciful thinking. It isn't just another one of these new age, everybody's going to get lifted up by a spaceship into another place and we're all going to be saved by the light. No, it's a science in itself, but it's a different kind of a science. It's a science that is from inside. It's called occultism. It's been documented through the ages in Old Testaments. It's what scientists study today, but to access it, my route has been the experiential one from within. Looking, feeling, inquiring, reading, tremendous amount of reading, but mostly practice, which is what I share with my students, guiding them step by step through the body. This is what you feel in your body. Look at it, be with it. Get your mind out of the way, just be with your body. What are your emotions? How did you cause those emotions? What part does your desiring mind have in that emotion that you're feeling now? What are your beliefs? What is sustaining the state of illness or whatever is happening around you? How is your mind working? There's different levels in which our mind works. They're all different frequencies. And this is a science, an inner science, that we can all master. And for that, I have created a school, and I'm training people who are going to go out into the world, build their own schools, and put this information out as much as possible, which is why we're offering you our book as a symbol of our hope for a better world, that you may grow and love and be happy in the light, out of business as usual, into a new way of thinking and being. Let's just go to the last slide. And it's just a text that I put there. It's from Alice Bailey, and I was recently reminded of it. If the urge to satisfy desire is the basic urge of the form life of man, the urge to serve is an equally basic urge of the soul of the man. In service, one learns the power of love. There is no technique that is going to show you that. Thank you.